Naše dve države su veoma stari prijatelji, već skoro 200 godina, uključujući i bliske savezništva tokom 2 svjetska rata. Naravno, vidjeli smo i uspone i padove, ali moj osnovni cilj, moja misija kao ambasadora jeste da radim sve ono što ja mogu na izgradnji modernijih, pozitivnih odnosa sa Srbijom.
I think my speeches I always write. I was a speechwriter for a bit, and also when I was at Oxford, the Oxford Union, which is the debating society at Oxford University and sort of centre of free speech and so I was involved in that. So I did a lot of public speaking and so on. And then I've got better at it the more I've done it.
No, the thing is,
practice, right?
When I learned that you have been in Oxford, I knew immediately that you're very highly schooled for the position you are. You know?
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I studied ancient Greek, so I don't know if it's very relevant, but I think the style of the Oxford system of education, because you basically every week you write 2 essays, and you have a session with your tutor and one other student, and one of the students will read the essay, and then the other 2 will attack it. And challenge you, and you have to defend it. And so it's a debate, and it's a constant back and forth. And actually, that skill of being able to defend a position, coming up with your own ideas, fighting for them, arguing them effectively, that's it's useful for everything, right? I mean,
so you're in the right region.
Possibly.
About the debate.
Yeah, well, I think I think the challenge is debate without emotion, right? Because I think here.
Can you exclude them?
No. I think emotion can be helpful as well, but I think if it clouds the debate and if it overtakes the debate and if it becomes I think in this part of the world, when you're talking about the past and so on, it's so emotional and for understandable reasons that it's quite difficult to get past that, and it's quite difficult to think rationally sometimes about.
Definitely, you're very different diplomat.
Possibly. I mean, I haven't grown up in the diplomatic service. If that makes sense. I've grown up with the military, in the Ministry of Defence. So that's one factor.
When you saw the house, when you saw the garden.
Yes.
What did you think?
I mean, it's slightly overwhelming, isn't it? Because it's a wonderful space and it's a really exciting space to have as an ambassador. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a really big residence, and it's something you, as an ambassador, you can really use. So we had our King's birthday party in June, which you came to, and we had over 1,000 people in the garden, and that just having the ability to do that, having a space where you can do that,
and you had your speech,
is really exciting.
You had your speech in a perfect Serbian. Look at my eyes. Did you write it?
Yes,
Really?
I did.
Alone?
Word for word, yes.
Nobody helped you?
No. A few people looked at it afterwards, and I had a few comments. But I write my own speeches. I think.
You learned Serbian?
Yes.
Hello.
This is Tessa.
I'm Mira, hi.
And this is Mimi.
I'm Mira, hi.
And you know Kerolajn.
Hello, Kerolajn. Hello. Tell me, girls, do you like your new home?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
What you like the most?
I like the garden and the swimming pool.
You?
I like the summer stuff.
Did you meet any children here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mimi goes to school just down the street at Chartwell.
Which one is going to stay with us here in Belgrade? You? We are going to see each other. Okay, thank you. Now, when you came here,
yes,
what was your first feeling when he got that job? Think about.
So we knew a little bit before we came, and when we found out we were in DC, and we were just really excited. Excited to be coming back to a region that we know, that we had friends. Mimi's godmother, Ediba, is in Sarajevo, her cum, and we've got really good friends from our time there. So, yeah, we didn't know Belgrade very well. We'd been here 2 times?
Two or three times, yeah.
Yeah, but we were just really excited to be coming back to a region that we liked. We like the people here.
You have to admit that such a weather is not very common in Britain. If you miss sun, you got it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. It hasn't been a great summer in England this year. So.
Let's go back to the house, right? Thank you. How old have you been when you have been in Washington dealing with 1,000 people? I don't know, in 25 countries, something to do with the defense and security and all those things. How old have you been then?
So we moved to Washington after I'd been ambassador in Bosnia and Herzegovina for 4 years. So that was in 2018. So I was 41 years old, I think. And yeah, my job was actually, I was working again for the Ministry of Defence, and I was in charge of the United Kingdom's defence relationship with America. So that was everything from nuclear cooperation to new technologies to aircraft carriers and jets, but also really cutting edge science. And so it was a really exciting job. But yeah, we had 1,000 military and civilian people spread right across the United States in sort of every major base or part of the US defense system. And it was a fascinating time to be there.
Your career, even for Britain and America, is unusual one. You have been very young.
Yes.
Very young. How old are you now?
I'm now 46, I think. Yeah, so I'm fairly young, and actually I became an ambassador for the first time when I was just 36 years old.
Is the post here as an ambassador to Serbia treated as a kind of a very, very delicate job?
Yeah, I think it's seen as an important job. As a delicate job, yes. I mean, I think there are definitely issues where we don't always see things the same way as Serbia. So I think managing those areas of disagreement, whether that's about things sort of inside Serbia or whether it's about some of the regional issues and unresolved arguments with some of your neighbours, for example, that's part of the role. But I think there is also a sense in London that we're ambitious to grow this partnership. We see Serbia as a really important country in an important region that matters to us. And we think, if you look back at the relationship that Britain has had with Serbia in history, where we were very, very close allies and partners for almost 200 years, leading up to the 1990s and through 2 world wars, we want to rebuild and regain a lot of what has been lost. And I think there's a lot of room for growth and development of the relationship.
For example, every day you probably listen to everything. You're getting all your information.
A lot of information, yes.
What?
A lot of information.
A lot of
yes.
information. You have to be a very big expert to divide what is true and what is not true.
Yes.
Here in Balkans, this is a special art.
But I'm smiling because I agree. I mean, I think, I spent 4 years as ambassador in Sarajevo, ambassador to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I remember when I arrived there, initially as a language student, and I was living in Mostar for a while. And my teacher, the first new phrase I learned there was the phrase, teoria zavera, right? And my teacher gave me an article to translate about HARP, this US weather system that people think in some way was responsible for all sorts of natural disasters. And I realized that conspiracy theories and sort of fake stories were just sort of part and parcel of the politics in this country, and they're used and they shape how people think about countries like Britain. And Britain certainly is often part of stories, mostly completely untrue. So I think being able to separate fact from fiction is an important thing. It's something that I've learned, learned sort of over time is a really kind of key part of the business here.
How can you teach me on something? How are you checking up? You are skilled, you have such a big experience. How do you check up the information? You personally, do you have a system of checking up, or this is a sixth sense, or what?
Well, I think the good news is it's not me personally. I have a fantastic team at the embassy. We have an embassy of nearly 100 people here in Belgrade. So I have lots of expert people, both British and Serbian, who can help me to understand what is going on. And of course, yeah, as you say, given the range of issues that I'm seeking to follow, political, economic, social, cultural, and so on, I really need all the help I can get. So I'm very lucky to have a brilliant team behind me.
Do you think that we are in a difficult situation now? Because this difficult situation is lasting, for ages. And we are always in a very specific situation. We are always somewhere on the verge. And you never know what's going to happen after this verge, It's always a kind of a tension which is present for years now.
Yes, I think if you look at Serbia's history, I think it's been shaped by your geography, and you're in a difficult and complex and sensitive part of the world, and I think that's been the story of the last millennium. In some ways, you're not alone at the moment, right? The whole of Europe is facing real challenges. In fact, the whole of the world is facing huge challenges, and I think we're seeing instability and insecurity on a level that is something that we hoped were behind us now, with Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, with what's going on in Gaza, and so on. And so I think everyone is very clear that this part of the world, it's really important it remains stable. For the benefit of everyone who lives in this part of the world, but for the benefit of the whole of Europe. We have enough problems. We certainly don't need any more.
Why everything is happening to us? Why?
I don't know.
Are we on the wrong
that's a very
place?
big question, isn't it?
No, make it simple.
I don't think everything is happening to you. I think sometimes, inevitably, I think all countries think that they're at the centre of the story, and I think we Brits often think we're at the centre of the story. Actually, you look at any country in the world right now, and I think everyone is facing their own challenges, both internally in terms of challenges to democracy, in terms of what social media and AI are meaning for societies and for the state of the political conversation. Serbia is no exception to that. But also, geostrategically, we're in a world where we're both more connected, but also increasingly polarized, split between competition between different parts of the world. So I think Serbia, if it makes you feel any better, I don't think you're alone on this. I think everyone is struggling to find their place and find how to protect themselves and advance their interests in a really difficult geostrategic context.
Do you know which picture I like very much?
Go on.
Tito visiting Churchill. Where Churchill is making him ready for this photo session. It looked optimistic, You felt protected. You felt that somebody takes care about you. You felt, on that picture, you felt a kind of equal possibility. It's a very, the picture?
Yes, I do, yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's history,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Today, sometimes the country is divided in many roads. It's a little bit disorientated.
Yeah.
You, as a strategist, not so much a diplomat, but a strategist, you probably have a very clear picture. How long it's going to last? How long this kind of not being able to decide? How to decide? Is there any effect what they decide? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a little bit a kind of a limbo.
I think you're right.
You must agree with me.
No, I do. I think it's really difficult. And I think in some ways, some of the things that have changed in the world, globalization, the ability to travel, the ability to communicate in milliseconds anywhere in the world, has made thinking about strategy and thinking about diplomacy easier, right? Because we can talk much more easily than we used to, and we know much more about each other. On the one hand, on the other hand, actually that huge amount of information just prevents so much complexity to decision makers that, as you say, it's really hard to know what's important, what's not, what's true, what's not. And increasingly now, of course, with social media, and perhaps even more in the future with the advent of artificial intelligence, it's going to be really, really difficult to know what is true, what is the information that matters to make the right decisions for ourselves as individuals, let alone for leaders of countries. So I think part of the answer is that it's really important that countries work together and that leaders work together and get to know each other and build relationships. So I think just a few weeks ago, we've just got a new government in Britain, and it was really, really, really good that within a couple of weeks we had all the leaders of Europe, including President Vučić, coming to Blenheim Palace in Oxford.
You know something? When I saw the news in Britain, I said, good for you, you are here. Good for you. You can watch it from here.
Yes, I was very comfortable here watching it, and rather than having to organise what was a very complicated event, but I think a really successful event as well. But I think those sort of opportunities to bring people together, to share understanding, to try and understand what's going on, to try and understand what are the best ways forward in a world of complicated, imperfect choices, which is really what strategy is all about, is super important. So I think thinking about Britain and Serbia, as I say, I think we have been closer in the past, and my job as the ambassador here is to try and build the closest, the most positive, the most forward-looking relationship we can, because in some ways, oddly enough, I think the position of Britain and Serbia is not that dissimilar. I mean, we have very different histories, we have very different geographies. I think we're probably a bit clearer about our strategic orientation, and Serbia's, balancing different equities.
We have different mentalities.
Well, in some ways we do, but I think we share a lot in terms of mentality and sense of humour and so on as well.
When I want to explain somebody about the mentality of Britain, right?
Yeah.
If I may say, that I know Britain,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always saying that pay attention always after the first sentence. The first sentence says, I hope this letter finds you well.
Yes.
And then, hope for the best.
Well, yes, we like to be polite, even when we're being disparaging.
You would never ever get so far if you don't have a kind of a recipe or a kind how you do it. Probably. Now, how far you can negotiate? What is the level of your tolerance?
Mm-hmm.
Is it easy for you to say no? And tell me how you treat a lie.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot in that question, really. I think when I arrive in a country, one thing in terms of a system, one thing I do is I don't make any decisions for the first few months. I just try and listen and learn, because there's always a lot to listen and learn. Even though I came to Belgrade from having been in Sarajevo, I still had to learn an awful lot about Serbia and about the region, as seen from here. So trying to understand is, I think, the first step towards being able to deal with then everything that followed.
Do you think that you're easy to negotiate with?
No, I think my mother would tell you I can be very stubborn. I think my wife would tell you the same. I think when I'm pretty clear about where I think our relationship has the most opportunity for growth. I think I'm also pretty clear about where we have issues that we don't fully agree on with Serbia. I think the trick is to balance out those conversations so that we are looking at the opportunities as well as the challenges.
Do you think that this interview can help?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think the point of, partly I think one of the things is a lot of people in Serbia love a lot of things about Britain. You know, they watch a lot of British films, they read British authors, they love British music, we laugh at the same jokes, and so on. But I think sometimes their perception of Britain as a nation is coloured by the history of the last 30 years, particularly the 1990s. And I think what I, as an ambassador, I guess, am keen to do is just to sort of talk to people very openly about where Britain is, about the fact that, yes, we've had some difficult moments in our past. We've also had some really amazing moments in our past. And the longer I'm here, the more fantastic stories I learn about how we've been the closest of allies and partners. And I want to get back to that again. So if there's one message for your viewers, it's that I think there's enormous potential to do great things together between Britain and Serbia and to put some of the past behind us.
Tell me, how much I succeeded to get out of him a real personality and how he sees the things. What do you think?
So I think you've had the textbook answer, and now I'm here and we'll give you the full answer.
I think that he's very difficult to negotiate with.
I think the best negotiators that I've come across in business are the ones who have a clear set of what they want to achieve and the non-negotiables. And Ed is a very good negotiator because he seeks to understand, he's very open in his manner, he listens, and he's firm in terms of what he wants to give away and what he doesn't want to give away. It's quite frustrating as a wife. And he never says sorry.
Never?
No, he does say sorry if I really force him, but it's not a natural reflex. So in some ways he's incredibly professional in his manner anyway. So that is what you're seeing is the real Edward.
When you met him, can
Yes.
you recall the moment when you met him?
No, because we knew each other from school days. So Ed was the year above me at school. So I was probably about 16 and you were 17. And we were at different schools. I was at a girls' school, Ed was at an all-boys school. And we were friends for years before we actually got together. And we were part of the same sort of group of friends. So so that was that.
So you know him very well.
I know him very well because when we were in London, both starting off in our careers, then Ed always had a long string of girlfriends and he would come and moan to me about the girlfriends. So so I sort of knew what I was letting myself in for, let's say,
In fact, maybe I'm talking to the wrong person. Maybe you are the strategist, right?
No, I wouldn't go that far. No, definitely
no.
not. No, I'm the foil.
Tell me, do you have any influence on him?
I like to think I do because Ed is very clever. So he got a first from Oxford. And so he gives me the impression that I have influence. Now, whether I actually have influence is another thing. I like to think I have influence.
Kerolajn has a huge influence on me.
I think I'm an encourager, and I think I try. Ed's strength is policy and words, and I think probably my strength, I'm more interested in people, and so sometimes I think I will pick up on how people are feeling or what they're not saying and what they are saying, and I will point that out to Ed.
Yes, she's also absolutely. And she's also very good at keeping me very grounded, I think, because I think as an ambassador, living in the house like this, and doing the things we do, you can sometimes get a little bit too big for your boots. And I think Kerolajn...
What do you mean? I don't think that you have that situation at all. Because, doesn't matter what anybody is going to think. And maybe they are going to think that I got it wrong.
Mm.
But the job you're doing,
yeah,
it's a job of a dreamer.
Yes, I mean it's an amazing job to do, and it's a huge privilege to do it. It really is. But I think what Kerolajn's great at is just saying, look, just there, I think you went too far, or just be a bit careful about this. And I think she keeps me in a good space, I think.
I think it's a balance. I think it's a really strange thing being an ambassador, because in some ways you're put on a pedestal and you've got to believe yourself. You've got to walk into that embassy and you've got to be the leader. But at home, when you walk through the door, Ed is daddy again, or he's my husband, and he doesn't have...
And then Kerolajn's the boss.
It's a balance between trying to... It's the same in any organisation, but it's trying to just remember what the priorities in life are.
Do you feel sometimes for his large career that you had a certain sacrifice?
Yes, my career was sacrificed 100%.
Yes.
And I think that's something that most military, most Foreign Office spouses feel exactly the same. And maybe to a degree, spouses, male, female partners of any successful career person has to make a sacrifice, because you can have it all. You can have two careers, but there's something is lost in between usually. And traveling around the world following Ed, it's an honour, it's a privilege. We are incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful for this life. But I stopped working. I stopped my professional career the minute we went to Bosnia, and I haven't done it since. But equally, I've done other jobs that I would never have thought that I would be doing. So it's the rough comes with the smooth. So I've learnt a huge amount, and I don't have a single day of regret. I sometimes just wish that I had more of a career for myself.
Did you get any time frame? For example, how long you are going to only listen, and then maybe to try to do something? Are you still accumulating your jump?
No, I think I spent a few months, as I say, sort of listening, trying to understand, and I've come to some conclusions now about where I think there is the most room for growth in the relationship. And I think there are essentially three areas that I'm really keen to grow. One is our economic and commercial links. It's actually going really well. I mean, we are growing our relationship. We've got over £1 billion in trade for the first time now, and we're starting to be involved in some really big and important projects that will help to grow Serbia's economy. So that's sort of one big piece. The second is about security cooperation. And then the third is about really people to people and cultural connections, and building on some of those historical stories. It's about storytelling and reminding people of our history.
You mentioned security. I heard, and you tell me, is it true, that some parts of the administration in this country are guided by English experts in certain fields?
I don't know how I'd put it in quite those terms, but we have very close cooperation and relationships, and we work together, actually. We do joint operations and planning on everything from tackling organised crime to addressing illegal migration and so on. And of course, our armed forces work together in some really important areas. We have Serbian troops in Cyprus working alongside the British troops.
No, I mean from the security point of view, is Serbia taking some kind of, how do you say, logistics, how it is done in Britain, in certain parts of, you know, how the country functions?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're actually learning from each other, honestly. A recent example is working between the UK and Serbian governments on cybersecurity, which is obviously a really important issue. We've been having investigators exchanging on tracking fraud and how money moves illegally around the world. On the defence side, we recently had a group of military doctors from Serbia going over to the UK and again working with their counterparts there. So we have a lot of people just going over, you know, coming to Serbia or going to UK and just sharing experience, getting to know each other. And I think it's a really important way of building trust because, you know, particularly in those areas of security cooperation, sharing a bit of our vulnerabilities and trusting each other with, you know, both where the risks are, but also how we're addressing them. I think that's a really important way to grow this partnership.
When a British ambassador, ideally before they go to country, before they go to post, they have an audience with the King, or the Queen as it used to be, essentially because Edward is His Majesty's ambassador, so His Majesty's representative. So to kiss the hand of the monarch, then the ambassador designate goes out to country. So we were really lucky in that before we came here, we were invited to Buckingham Palace, and we were, I think, the first group of ambassadors that King Charles met before they went to post. And it was a really nice ceremony and different, because before we went to Bosnia, to Sarajevo in 2014, we'd met the Queen, and so we were expecting it to be exactly the same, that four ambassadors and their partners would be called into the room and would meet the King at the same time. But actually, and this speaks to the difference between the Queen and her son, the King, that he wanted to meet each ambassador and their partner individually. So he invited us in one by one and had 2 or 3 minutes with us. And I was trying to encourage him to come back whilst we're here. And I said, come on, you must come and visit. And he said, well, I came in 2020, I think. But I said, no, it's time for another visit. So yes, he was charming, he was engaged, he was really knowledgeable about Serbia, about the region, really passionate. His father was Greek, so he understands the Greek Orthodox, the Serbian Orthodox, the religions, and he was really excited for us. Which was lovely. It was really special. And so over here we've got, it's quite fun because we've got Elizabeth II, so the commission certificate, her instructions to Edward when he was ambassador to Sarajevo, 2014, signed Elizabeth R at the top, and then over on this side we've got Charles III. And Charles's signature up there. So in terms of the time that for Ed's career, we've been really lucky that we've managed to do 2 postings under two different monarchs, which,
having had the Queen on the throne for 7 decades, it's quite a special thing to have been both Her Majesty's ambassador and now His Majesty's ambassador as well.